This is Geeks Represent, where we talk about representation and issue that matters to us geeks. We are
Darryl,
Joe,
Marshall,
and your host, Sean. Since the world is still crazy, it's nice to have an outlet to escape every once in a while, whether it's manga, books, TV shows, or movies. Here are our 2021 TV picks. So, Darryl, what you been watching this season?
I just finished up watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and It's been a great time.
9-9?
9-9? So the season just wrapped up a little bit ago, and I've been watching it since it started. It made me not hate Andy Samberg.
You hated Andy Samberg before?
I didn't care for Andy Samberg.
You weren't a fan of Lonely Island?
He was fine, but he just seemed too doofy.
But it was perfect.
Yeah. But I'll say that for later. I have a lot more respect for the guy now.
Fair.
But
Fair.
it's just a great ensemble sitcom set in a police precinct, and all the shenanigans that they get through. They do play things serious when they need to. They do have a lot of fantastic finales and opening episodes season for season, but this consistently provide a ton of comedy, great characters. It has Terry Crews also playing someone named Terry, which that's something. But
Terry loves it.
Why are you saying in the third? Oh, I'm Terry. I'm Terry with an I.
I'm speaking for Eugene. By the way,
there's a lot of great jokes and a lot of great running bits throughout the seasons.
Honestly, I can't think of a bad cold open.
Nope.
From Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I think
Peralta.
Hot damn!
Yeah. Hot damn. Who's this basic bitch right here? That's your dog, sir. No, it's not. That's not Cheddar.
I think they have a compilation on the NBC YouTube channel of all of the cold opens. I need to try and pull it up.
Oh, that's awesome. Gobble gobble, bitches. Boyle, this is the family whose son passed away. I'm so sorry for you. It's what?
You want to know how I really hurt my wrist? I was hoo-whooping with my husband. See this picture? Why are you showing me this? Because no one will ever believe you.
That brings me to one of the things I love about it is that the serious humor of Captain Holt.
Yeah.
I love serious humor. I love saying something completely
Dry.
serious or saying something completely ridiculous in a super serious manner. That's that's a third of my humor. So pretty much everything that Captain Holt does and everything that takes him out of his comfort zone, or just him laughing at the prank of them moving the podium he goes to every morning half an inch over, and it's that cracking him up completely. It just kills me.
That's what he said. I mean, it's
I love it.
With this. This is great.
Go Razzmatazz. Go Razzmatazz. I lost everything.
Or when he tasted a marshmallow for the first time, and they're like,
oh man, it's a great show. You should watch it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like Andy Samberg, he's actually plays a competent cop in the show. So
yeah,
that's nice.
That's right. They didn't lean into him being this. I mean, he is stupid in a lot of different respects,
But he's also hilarious.
and he's actually a great cop who cares and actually is good at his job.
Mm-hmm.
Same for Boyle. Hell, same. Well, I was gonna bring up Hitchcock and Scully.
No, not Hitchcock and Scully. Scully
They're good when they want to be. Yeah, I was saying they traced that marinara sauce to its origin.
How to get marinara on him? Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie. How? What? Scully? We were in the break room. I know.
I still love
there
that.
There was that flashback episode of them.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was gonna say I love that Alan Richardson played one of them. Like, if you don't know him, he is like Thad Castle from Blue Mountain State, or a Hawk.
Yeah,
from, like,
and they were
Titans.
so fit.
They were so good. They were hero
Like,
cops.
so you don't want to go to the gym for like 5 hours, like just for today? Like, no, dude, let's get some of this.
Wings.
What is this? Chicken
These
in a
free wings.
bucket? Yeah, I guess. I never had
One wouldn't hurt.
And it killed it.
Yo, Scully, have some of this. What is that, Hitchcock? This is pretty good.
What the?
Oh man.
That was a great gag.
It was.
So like when I've had a little time this past week, I've basically just been watching like the heist episodes like through each season on Hulu. And that's been a fun time seeing how like quickly they devolved into constant gains of one-upmanship. And then I went back to start watching all of the Pontiac Bandit episodes and seeing
Pontiac
every
Bandit.
time Jake gets tricked.
Doug Judy.
It's amazing. And I
I'm
think
like,
now
when
I'm
you
just
gonna
gonna go
learn,
back
Jake?
and watch everything with Wunch and all those classic
Wunch.
hold insults.
I didn't hear your hooves come in.
Because that's what demons have.
That's how demons walk. Excellent burn, sir. Thank you.
Drum roll, please. What are you doing? Well, you didn't say at what rate, so I went. Any plea would go with an alto.
It's one of the best shows on TV.
Yeah,
And
Agreed.
I agree. I gotta say, I'm not. It's hard for me to get into like new sitcoms, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine was like one of the few sitcoms that actually had me hooked and made me want to watch more.
And it didn't hurt that they cross over with New Girl for an episode.
It's a crossover. It's a Hyundai crossover. Okay.
And that was a great time.
Oh yeah. No, that was so funny. What joke did she say? Well, she was like, "If you're a cop, tell me something only a cop would know."
Like name one law.
Name one law. What was it?
Yeah.
It was like,
Don't kill people.
okay,
Yeah, I set the
that
bar
was my
too
fault.
low.
I set the bar too low.
Oh man.
There's free writing on both those shows, to be honest.
Mhm.
But one thing I do want to highlight is basically their response to 2020.
Yeah, I thought that I do remember anticipating that. I thought that would be really tricky. Did they go into it beyond that, like one episode with
Terry.
Diaz working with? Yeah, I mean they definitely had that with Terry, but did they go into beyond this current, like their final season? Did they go into it more than that episode where Diaz and Peralta had to,
The impact of it, and if you guys didn't know, they're writing the new scripts for the last season in the middle of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic and all the Black Lives Matter protests. And they basically threw out the first 4 scripts of the season and rewrote it. And the season premiere basically kind of hit everything that no other like comedy or sitcom was talking about.
Well, like how
oh,
deep the corruption goes, and like how hard it is to actually like get a cop held accountable.
exactly.
Yeah,
And it spelled things out pretty explicitly how difficult actual change can be.
yeah, and why like quote unquote good cops. Although I love it, it's like only I'm not one of those good cops who says I'm a good cop, but is really a bad cop. I'm really a good cop, and it's like no, you're not. But like quote unquote good cops, like they don't want to stand up because like the result would probably not give them anything tangible or anything like actionable. So,
Or they'll be
kind of makes sense.
out of the system and then they won't be a cop anymore, or things like that.
Yeah,
Or marginalized or things like that
yeah,
in the community, in the cop community. But still, I did find out that was like the lowest rated episode on like IMDb or something like that.
Oh,
But
yeah. Well, so is Shang-Chi before he even came out. Or shit always happens. It was a nice bonus having John C. McGinley though,
it was great seeing him.
and his weird fascination with what like was it
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel, yeah, and his mom.
Really almost like the opposite of Dr. Cox.
I was gonna say, like, Nailed everything Cox would hate, including his mom.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend that to anybody who wants to watch a good comedy, which I hope everyone does.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me, did it end consistently? Because I also find the series like to be very consistent, like I said, in its like writing quality and its humor and its relevance.
Yeah. Oh, and the relevance sake, to address the previous thing you asked, like the main plot of what like Holt and Amy are doing is like trying to introduce better policing.
So it didn't just stop there.
Yeah.
Okay,
like,
that's good.
There's an episode where there was basically a lot of the cops went on strike based off of like John McGinley's prodding. I forget the exact reason. I think there was like, I might be mixing up some plots, but there's like a mouse in. Never mind. I can't remember exactly. There was like a walkout of a bunch of cops, but that led to a lot fewer counts of like
Police brutality.
yeah, and like
Well, doesn't
crime.
that say something?
So that's kind of like what's the impetus of trying to introduce different strategies for policing.
Yeah.
And that led to Captain Holt being promoted, Amy being promoted.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, don't spoil too much. I want to watch it.
okay.
Looks,
But yeah.
but that's
some
good.
people leave the force, some people come back. I'll also say that.
Okay. Because I'm glad it didn't just end there, because I've heard like there was an argument that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is just another example of like propaganda. Like trying to show off like, oh, see, cops aren't all corrupt or bad. Like here's some TV portrayals of like police being the ideal policeman that you want. And they said like, oh, and one of their evidence was like they had like one episode in the past where like when Terry was stopped by a cop, right? And but they said like that was it. That's all like as serious as it got. And it's saying like, is that enough? So I'm glad this last season almost feels like this last season was a good response to that.
Yeah. I remember reading an article saying that everyone needs to quit the force and become like community organizers, which is never going to happen.
No.
But the way they did it, at least, I mean, Rosa did leave. And
Which made me sad, but I'm actually kind of glad because Rosa is one of my favorite characters.
oh yeah. Talk about serious humor.
Yeah.
She's,
Although just watching her get high was great.
oh, yeah.
At the cabin and chilling. She's like, oh no. Like, it was just uncharacter. Like, watching her be afraid too when that paranoia set in, it was like, this is uncharacteristically Rosa. It was like, oh my god, oh my god.
It's one of the greatest things about serious humor because you can be funny when you're serious and fun and hilarious when you break the seriousness.
Yeah. Have you ever seen her like talk, like the actress,
Yeah.
like speak for other stuff? It's so weird. It's so off-putting. I saw a video recently. She was because it was Bi Visibility Day or Bisexual like Visibility Week, and she put out a video because she's bisexual in real life and her character, and just hearing her talk in her normal voice is so off-putting because you're so used to like that deadpan, like, you don't even know my real name, I will kill you. Like, I just met this dog for an hour, and if anything happens to it, I will kill it. I will kill you, myself, and everyone in this room.
And if you listen to her in like the first season, she is a lot lighter. Like it's a lot closer to a regular tone, but by season 2, she's like completely deadpan. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely my recommendation.
Awesome.
And you can find it on Hulu at this moment.
Oh, yeah. Joe, what have you been watching? What are you recommending?
This is a Netflix original.
Oh, snap.
So we watched The Chair. Just came out, I think, about a few weeks ago. It's starring Sandra Oh from, as you may know, from like Grey's Anatomy and Invincible and Killing Eve. She's just a fantastic actress. I've been liking a lot of what she's been doing so far, and The Chair is no exception. So essentially, it's a series created by Amanda Peet and Annie Julie Wyman. You might know Amanda Peet for acting roles in like Longest Yard. No, Whole 9 Yards. And Sandra Oh is playing a newly elected chair of the English department for an Ivy League for a fictional like Ivy League New England school, which is great. It's a high achievement for her because I think she's both the first like woman to hold that position, as well as the first like woman of color. And so it kind of sets a tone for the whole series, because I don't think there's a season 2. I think it's meant to be like a mini series. And that she sits in the chair and it immediately like of her like at her new desk. And it's great because like she imagines in her head, like I'm not even sure if it's in her head, her desk is labeled with the nameplate like badass motherfucker or something, right? But as soon as she sits in the chair, it breaks. And it kind of sets the tone for the whole series because, you know, it's a great metaphor for how her position is going to be, because she thought it's going to be a lot like more prestige. She's going to like enact a lot of great change. But immediately, like one of the first tasks the dean of the English department tells her to do is figure out who to fire, because and they give her like 3 candidates, and it goes. One of the themes of the show is like ageism, because as you imagine, Ivy League school, like with like professors on tenure, there's 3 like particular aging professors. Honestly, I believe one of them should have been fired because he always like falls asleep or like doesn't really do anything, or like, you know, is clearly like showing signs of like senility. But the other 2, actually, I think the other guy, basically the 2 men should be fired. I actually was rooting for the woman, but they're all like 3 aging, and like, you know, their attendance rates, like less and less students are enrolling in their classes because they find them boring. Especially like the one he's been teaching, he hasn't changed his syllabus in 30 years.
Jeez.
Right. And he's like, I will not like, and it sucks because there's another professor, a black woman, younger, she's like 30, and like students, she's growing like to be really popular amongst the students, and she's being recognized for her work. And one of the key things that she actually relates to the students, like one of her assignments to them was like tweet your favorite Moby Dick quote, right? And to which, you know, the professor who hasn't changed his syllabus in like 30 years, he is like, you're just like appealing to them or whatever, like that has no longevity or whatever. But you know what, his is the class of like 8, right? If that. I think it like dwindles to like people like, will this be on a test? We won't be worrying about that. They just left, right? It's just like they don't care. But like these students in her class are like actually engaged, and I think part of it's also because he's like one of those like save your questions, like I will not be taking any questions today, while she's like, one of them was like, are we going to address about how Herman Melville was like a wife beater? And she was like, we weren't going to, but now we are. Like, she's actually like receptive to the students. But it sucks because in order to say, so Sandra Oh obviously doesn't want to fire anyone, so she's trying to, you know, have the argument that they should all be there. And so she tries to save that teacher's job by combining his class with hers, right? With the black female professor, and he immediately steamrolls over her syllabus, and like, which is a growing theme across the show. Like, essentially, white old men ruin everything, like, and like steamroll over like, you know, their female colleagues or like people of color, like basically belittling their work or like being like archaic. Basically. So that's one problem. Another topic, another theme that I really enjoy, that was really well done, was the negative side of cancel culture. Because I was worried too, because from the trailer, they made you think that the reason why he's being, you know, canceled is because he's having an affair with a student. But they actually addressed that in a very funny way. But no, that's not why. He is being canceled because, well, here's a backstory. This is a professor that she also has feelings for. So that's already kind of like corrupting, like, you know, the whole process, because she's responsible for these affairs, right? For the affairs of the professors and their issues. So his background, his wife had recently died. And to add on top of that, his daughter just left for college. So he's already like feeling very abandoned, very alone, right? And one day, so he's teaching a piece. He's teaching about the themes of fascism, and he does a Hitler salute, right? Just as a joke. What he doesn't know is one of the students is recording him for TikTok and airing it. Like, all of a sudden it goes viral, and it's even been edited with like him wearing like a Nazi hat. and like without, and you don't even see like the chalkboard, so you don't even know what he's referring to or talking about. So basically, with no context, there's a viral video of him like going around doing a Hitler salute, and he tries to explain it's like it was a joke, and people are like, so anti-Semitism and the Holocaust is a joke to you, you know? And as you can imagine, it just goes downhill from there, right? And instead of listening to Sandra Oh, who's like, hey, you need to listen to like these, like the school and like do a formal apology and all that, he's like, no, these are intelligent kids. I'm gonna do like a open forum. And he immediately gets steamrolled by the students who is like, how is this an equal forum, because you hold all the power? And I'm just like, then what the fuck do you want? Yo, fuck, like, honestly, it was very frustrating to watch, but I think it was very realistic to how Gen Z does respond to certain issues. Like, I know we were talking about cancel culture. It is useful and it's very important to hold people accountable. But what happens if, you know, what happens when every battle is treated like equally, right? With like the same like fervor for justice, right?
Yeah. Or you don't like allow them the room to correct themselves.
Exactly. Or allow them to grow. All they were saying is like, no Nazis at Pembroke. No, you know, like they were just having none of it. Like there was no sense of like mercy or forgiveness or even just hearing their side, his side. Because like, again, one of the students straight up said like, why should we hear your side? You have all the power. And it's just like, then what do you want?
There's no conversation.
There's no conversation. They don't even want a conversation because they don't think it'll do anything. So it was great. It's great to see a show like talk about the negative side of that in a very realistic, very still humorous way. Because it was very heavily layered. They go into Cassandra Oh herself. She's a single mom, and she like she adopted a child of Hispanic descent or Latin descent, and so they go into that, like, you know, the transracial adoption. I feel like that's something that isn't really talked a lot about. And even if it is, it's talked about like usually it's like white parents with like a black child or an Asian child, right? Mm-hmm. You never see like you never see a single Asian woman adopting a child who's not Asian, right? Mm-hmm. So that was very cool. And going to like talk like the fact that she still needs like see therapy, which I think every adopted child should anyway, right? And going to like her butting heads with her father, and then, you know, her father butting heads with his, you know, grandchild, and then how that looks amongst like the Korean community. They go into all that. Just a lot of good stuff going on. Not to mention like the corruption of the deans of the college, like only caring about the bottom dollar, right? Mm-hmm. And the donors and the tuition money coming in, and, you know, not really giving a damn about their students themselves. Or because even by the end of it, like the teacher who was being canceled, he gives like this great speech on like they shouldn't listen to us, and why should they? You know, their world is on fire, and, you know, we need to help these kids. Like we should focus on helping these kids, not trying to have good PR or whatever. Like we should actually have it. He was still preaching for a conversation with them, which honestly to me is like more than they deserve, but whatever. But yeah. Overall, great show. Very relevant. Might piss off some people, might not. Like, or hopefully it just starts conversations, or like remind people like to actually discuss and not just grab your pitchforks.
Yeah, like not making a witch hunt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good, because that's pretty important. I mean, most good art like always evokes some kind of hate or
controversy.
Anyway,
I don't even think it's that controversial.
It's good that
I think it's just people don't like to be reminded to look in the mirror every once in a while, or realize if they're a part of the problem.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of like what the whole idea of like people going super hard with cancel culture is, like they kind of are deflecting super hard from,
or like trying really hard to be really woke.
Yeah,
because I was laughing at this like the one like white kid who was like super like, because another thing that happened was like there was issues with the black professor. Like she was supposed to be speaking at an event, but the school decided, but it'll bring in more donor money if we bring in David Duchovny, right? Like Mulder from X-Files. I was like, why? And he was like, he wrote a paper when he was in college, so that technically makes him knowledgeable in literature. I was like, the hell? And like stuff like that. It goes like, you know, how like like the teachers care about the students. Some of them, like I said, some of them were asshats, but the administration definitely did not. But yeah, like a lot of students were acting like ultra woke. It's just like I understand you don't want things to slip through the cracks. I understand like you want people to be held accountable, but slow down a little bit, you know?
Yeah, word. So yeah, Marshall, what you been watching? It looks like you got an anime recommendation for us lined up.
Yep, it's called Moonlit Fantasy. It's also a manga too. So pretty much about this kid named Makoto who just gets sent to a fantasy world by the moon god. And he's told, your family used to live here and they gave us a deal saying, hey, when we have kids, we'll send one back to where we came from. And he's like, I'll do it so my little sisters don't have to go over. So he meets the goddess of the world and she's like, you're ugly as fuck. So
Damn.
And he's like, what? Like, you're ugly. I don't like the way you talk, so I don't like you. Gives him the ability to talk to every other creature except human, and just casts him to like the edge of the world. And he's like, you son of a bitch! And he's falling, and like the other guy comes like, hey, my bad. He's like, what am I gonna happen? I'm gonna give you a secret power. You'll be okay, but I have to rest for the next 1,000 years. So good luck out there. And he's like, what about this fall? Like, he gets falling from like the middle of the sky, just falling down. He's like, you won't die. You're a lot stronger. He's like, God. But it was really
Who came
good
up with
because
these?
Huh?
I'm just saying, who came up with these rules?
I mean, I don't know, but he just he just like he accepted it, but he was like upset at the fact that like just because he looks different, he's treated like a creature, and he turned out to be one of the strongest people in this whole universe because he was raised on planet Earth. So it's pretty much like a Dragon Ball Z situation. He got raised on planet Earth, the gravity's different, so he gets back in his real world, and he's like literally KOing a dragon or destroying an endless eating demon by just punching it. He's like, oh shit. He's like, ow, that really hurt. My bad. But he also meets other humans, and he learns that the demi-humans, or like the demons, aren't really the bad guys. They're just being ostracized because they look different. And so he turns super upset when they destroy like his village he's making to help him get better in tune with like humans, and finds out that they killed like a child baby orc, an orc who was like patrolling the yards. So he finds the person who killed them, appears before them, and tries to speak their language, and she's like, I don't understand anything you're saying. He's like, oh, I forgot, that stupid bitch made it, I can't talk to you. And the girl tries to throw magic at him, he just deflects it, takes a knife, and just slits her throat, and he said, I'm tired of hearing this
Oh shit.
Damn.
Yeah. And he just did like, oh, I killed someone for the first time. And she's just sitting there like, he's like, you're still talking, and like sets her on fire. And I'm like, you're stone cold,
Damn.
bro. Stone cold. But
Wait, what was his life back on Earth? Was he a killer?
No, he was a normal kid who did archery classes in high school.
Oh, this is modern times.
Yeah, modern time. He got sent back to this fantasy world where he's like, he has superpowers, he has super strength, regeneration, unlimited magic, and the mana ability, but he just can't speak like the same language that humans can. So he has to use magic to write sentences.
Does
he understand the humans? He just can't talk back.
He
to
can understand them, but he just can't speak to them. So it's
he
like
can't talk back.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, like kind of like today's world where it's like someone can understand what you're saying, but they can't do it due to like the language barrier. And he's trying to make up for the fact where like I can write in magic. They're like, well, why you do that?
Right.
And he has like a secret mask that makes it where they don't see his face because he's hideous apparently in that world. He's like, I'm not that bad looking, but damn.
It sounds like a big combination between like John Carter of Mars, right? Because he's on a different planet with a different gravity, so he's stronger. Ella Enchanted, because he's been cursed not to be able to speak. Fucking like Sword Art Online, because he becomes a killer or whatever.
He didn't even blink. He just went up to the chick and just went.
That's why I asked what was his life before, because like, are you sure he wasn't a killer?
Oh no, like he just got sick and tired because like when like these demons like took care of him when he first came to the world, like they gave him food, taught him how to read and write, taught him magic, and to watch like one of them literally get blown up because he read the memories of the killer, and she literally was like, she tortured this little baby and like set her on fire, and he's like, how could someone do this to someone just because they look different? He's
Right.
like, you're fucking trash. You should be groveling at my feet, you fucking pig. She's like, well, why are you doing this? And he's like, oh, okay.
Oh, I was gonna say also like another blend, like Hunger Games, you know, like giving himself up as tribute, and also Twilight Zone, because there was like an episode like that where like humans are seen as ugly because everyone, normal or beautiful people, look like pigs or something like that.
But it's slated for a season 2, and
Cool.
It's also a manga because it gets heavy and it gets amazing.
Nice.
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
Sounds
and
crazy.
He gets more characters that end up being his comrades, like a super powerful dragon, like a forever hungry spider that everyone fears, and an undead lick who teaches him magic.
How close is he with that spider? Because that spider doesn't sound cool.
Well, the spider became his friend after she literally tried to eat him, and she's like, "Oh my god, your blood tastes amazing." He's like, "All right, you can be my servant, but you can't eat anybody."
No.
Yep.
What is like Venom?
Pretty much, yeah. She transforms into like a beautiful woman wearing a kimono, and she's like, "Master, can I have my daily portion?" He's like, "God." He's like, slits his hand and go like, "Here you go." She's like, No. Thank you."
So he'll slit some other girl's throat for not understanding him, but he'll eat a spider alive. I don't know. I wouldn't keep that spider around.
I mean, a spider has proven her worth. She like literally will. They destroy
I'm sure
the whole
she
town.
fights. I'm sure she fights great, but you know what? So did Aragog, and I say burn that motherfucker. Like Harry Potter.
I'm just saying, Harry Potter ain't got nothing on this. Okay, this kid.
Oh, okay.
They said that when he walks around town, they're like, "Do you know what you look like to most humans?" Like, what? You look like 12 demon lords just appeared out of nowhere and started walking. I'm like, wait, 12? He's like, yeah, 12. Like, oh my god, I'm too powerful. So he'll put on like these secret rings that help reduce his power. He's like, it's okay. How do I look now? You're now about 6. I'm 6? Yes, demon overlords now. So it's not too bad. He's like, oh my goodness.
All right.
He's just way too powerful.
So I just looked up this dude's face, and it just seems like random anime character to me.
Yep.
But does he at least have differently colored hair?
No, it's just like dark.
It's good though. And the manga's fantastic too.
Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy.
Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy.
Nice. Is it on Crunchyroll or Funimation or?
I think it's on Crunchyroll and Funimation.
Cool.
Soon to be just Crunchyroll.
Yeah. But I highly recommend it if you want to see something new for the summer.
Yeah, I definitely need to add it because I've been running out of shows to watch.
Have you? I only just started reading
anime wise.
Only just finished like Demon Slayer. How y'all like able to watch so much anime?
Because it's called time and dedication. Joe.
I'll say it kind of reminds me a little bit of there's a series called Isekai Uncle or Uncle from Another World, where it's kind of like the aftermath of the Isekai adventure, where this dude's uncle has been like in a coma for like 15 years, and he wakes up and turns out his mind has been in a fantasy world where he was also thought to be ugly, and like the one thing he got from whatever deity that's over there was like the power to understand people, like languages, but also that teaches him like how to understand like magic and like see how like spells and like runes work and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of the story is told in like flashback of like, oh hey nephew, let me tell you this one time where I slay a dragon and then this really random lady just got really mad at me for some reason. And you find out like, oh, there's like a tsundere that was interested in him, even though he looks like an orc to her, to like most people. And it's funny because he gets a lot of his life lessons from all of the times he played Sega Saturn, because he just really loves video games and spent his entire like childhood just playing Sega games. And he was like, wait, what? Sega doesn't exist anymore? They don't make consoles? What's going on? So it's a fun time. I think it might be getting anime as well.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there we go.
Nice. There's too many. It's too many.
It's not enough.
Yeah,
I still haven't finished Attack on Titan.
same.
Oh my lord, really?
If you need to save time, just read the manga. You can go through it
There's
quicker.
that too.
I'm trying to read like the comics I got now and the books I have now.
This is
You're
true.
gonna read multiple at once.
What? No.
Oh, dude, I got like 15 on deck. I read at least a day.
I'm still reading like Neil Gaiman right now.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's kind of the nice thing about like kind of keeping up with whatever's coming out in the season, because you can like really pace a chapter a week pretty
That's true.
easily and like have like
Mhm.
10 series on deck.
That's true. Sounds cool though. Sounds like a crazy
Yeah, man.
anime, and it looks a lot sharper than I thought it would when I googled it just now.
Oh, it's fantastic. The animation is just breathtaking.
Apparently, his face is too.
Yeah. I'm like, he's not that bad looking. Like, oh, you're ugly. He's like, not that bad looking. But everyone else in the world is considered super beautiful. It's like, oh my god, they really
Maybe.
are.
Oh man, dope. Yeah, I guess I'll tell you guys what I've been watching. I've kind of been hinting at it to you guys throughout the week, but because I've been watching it religiously with my girlfriend Jess. It's the show What We Do in the Shadows. It's on Hulu, and it's based on the mockumentary by the same name, What We Do in the Shadows, by Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi. It's about vampires, basically, but it's like shot like Office style, like The Office. So it's just following their adventures around Staten Island. And
Staten Island.
Yeah, Staten Island, because that's just where they kind of got dropped off on the boat, like from Europe. So they never like made it past there because they're just really lazy and they sleep a lot and stuff like that. So like this is just them killing time and kind of just like adjusting to the modern world, because like they're still like kind of still set in the olden days, because like time for them is like meaningless because they're like eternal basically, so they like lose track of time like really easily. Like the oldest vampire, Nandor the Relentless, he's from like old Ottoman Empire times, like he was like a general during that time. And then the other vampire chick, Nadja, she's like from Greece. And then her husband, Laszlo, the vampire, he's from old like 1800s Britain or 1700s Britain. So it's pretty fun to see them kind of adjust like very slowly and are kind of socially inept and like really endearing. But it's really funny to see that contrast with the fact that they have all the powers of a vampire, so they're like murdering people like easily. They have like super strength, and they're actually like quite terrifying in terms of like just their power. But like it's fun to see them also be scared of things. Like they hate witches, they hate werewolves, and they don't believe in ghosts. But and then when they find out about ghosts, it like completely rock their reality, which is hilarious because it's like, how do you like exist and accept all those other things but not ghosts? Like that's the one thing you're like, ghosts aren't real. So it's pretty funny to see like their interaction between that. Same thing with like when they're very familiar with curses and stuff like that. And then they take curses very seriously. And when one of them like checks his email for like the first time in like 10 years, he notices that he has a chain letter because like that shit was like super big back then. And then he's like, oh my gosh, I need to send it to 10 people before I get killed like by Bloody Mary. And then it's hilarious to see all the other vampires like take it seriously too, because they're like, this shit is real. Like they have no context at all that it's a complete made up thing. And yeah, it's just a really fun time watching them like run around Staten Island, try and become new rulers of the new world, and have fun going on adventures to like partying with people in Manhattan. And then so for for vampires, like they kept the lore where they can't like eat like human food or eat anything basically other than human blood. Like if they do, then they throw up. But they can kind of take on the properties of that blood. So if that person was like really drunk, like they get drunk too because of the alcohol content. Or if someone is like tripping balls off of drugs, like they start tripping balls too. So it's pretty funny to see them like just like they'll just be like killing people with who are like drugged up and they're just like like party animals. They'll be like, we drank the drug blood. And then, like they're talking to the cameraman and stuff like that. It's like they're just so freaking high. And it's pretty hilarious.
What do they do for money?
What do they do for money? I mean, they have just like their riches and stuff like that from like all their days of like pillaging and stuff like that through like all the olden times.
Okay.
That's fair.
I feel like they do have a roommate who's an energy vampire. So that's the funny thing, that they have regular vampire and energy vampires. So energy vampires are vampires who can like walk around during the day. They don't have to drink blood, but what they drink are people's emotions. So like they try to frustrate people like on purpose or bore them to death. So like the more they bore someone to death, that's how like they get their energy.
He's an annoying like office worker or something, right?
Yeah. He's an annoying office worker. He goes to work every day because he loves like just feeding on people by making their office day miserable. And like all the other vampires hate him because he can drain their energy too.
Why did they take him as a roommate?
Because he came with the house.
Perfect.
Of course.
Goodness.
Yeah, so he had the house, I guess, like for ages, and then like when they moved there, they like moved in with him. So his name is Colin Robinson, and they hate him. They're like, you invited Colin Robinson to the secret meeting, like he's not supposed to know.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty funny to see him interact with them because he just annoys the shit out of them, but he's obviously getting like a rise out of it because that's what he does. And they also have a familiar, or they used to have multiple familiars, but some of them do get killed. The main one is Guillermo. That's an Nandor's familiar. He's pretty hilarious too. He's basically the one that kind of keeps the house running really smoothly. So like he kind of takes on things so that they don't have to like need money as much too. So like he'll bury their victims and stuff like that in the yard, clean up the place so that the house doesn't just smell rank from just so many dead bodies. So yeah, it's a pretty funny show. There's like so many celebrities that pop up in every episode. Like Wesley Snipes was in it for one. Like he was like Blade,
like as Blade.
Yeah, it was a knockup of him being Blade. He's a vampire hunter who's like half vampire. Mark Hamill was in an episode. Haley Joel Osment was in an episode.
Oh wow.
Benedict Wong was in an episode. Yeah, like there's so many people. Oh, Batista was in one too.
Dave Bautista?
Yeah, Dave Bautista. Yeah, so like this show's pretty freaking hilarious, man. Like I highly recommend it to like everyone who wants to like laugh.
True.
So far there are 3 seasons in, so that's on Hulu, and yeah, that's what we do in the shadows.
Is it true that they made the werewolves also like Jersey Shore douche bros, or is that the werewolves?
The werewolves are kind of douchey. They're kind of silly. Like they're just so stupid. Like seeing the werewolves and the vampires fight is hilarious, and they do make fun of Twilight a lot. As well, because they're like, this is not fucking Twilight. Like, what do you like? You can't just have stereotypical prejudice against us. We're not all Native Americans. Like, what do you mean?
Oh my goodness!
It's like, yeah, like they had like one character's like, yeah, man, I'm African American. Like, I'm not. Like, we're not all Native Americans. Like, we're a diverse group of people, man. We're werewolves.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
sounds delightfully silly.
It is very delightfully silly, and yeah, it's funny to see how like they're just really powerful, and there's like no repercussions to their actions at all.
Is Taika Waititi still attached to the show, or is he only just for the movie?
Yeah, so he and Jermaine are both executive producers. They come into the show every once in a while for like
Okay.
cameo, like vampire appearances, like
Nice.
comprising their old role that they were in the documentary.
Okay.
But yeah, they're definitely involved because it's definitely like their kind of humor going into the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fantastic.
I mean, I expect so, because not only like Taika Waititi is just a great like comedic, or just a great director in general, but known for his like comedy, right? But also Jermaine Clement from Flight of Conchords. I imagine they created something redonkulous.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then because it just covers things that you would like never really think like an all powerful being would be like limited by, like city council.
What?
Or-
Wait, what?
like since they're trying to take over Staten Island, they're like, who do we need to talk to? Who are the leaders of this time? And it's just like city council. So they like sit in on a city council meeting to try and like petition their needs and stuff like that. So
I'm gonna guess it didn't go well.
nah, it's pretty funny. You would have to see
Okay.
it. Yeah. Everything ends in a disaster. Like everything they do always ends in a disaster. But it's how they get to it that is hilarious.
Yeah, both the movie and the show have been on my queue to watch for years now, and that might be the push I need to watch it.
Yeah, highly recommend. I think Jess and I are probably going to try and cosplay as Laszlo and Nadja sometime in the future because everyone is hilarious.
Dude, man.
Cool. Definitely need to check that out too.
Yeah. You guys got any last thoughts before we wrap up the episode?
Got way too much TV to watch.
This is
And
true.
movies, for that matter.
And yet again, thankful to be exposed to a lot of different stuff just throughout this episode, you know.
That's true. Because look at our list. We got like a sitcom, a dramedy, an anime, and a fantasy sitcom as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which the more you talk about it, the more I'm thinking like it sounds like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but with vampires.
It sounds like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
It's always
It's
cloudy
just
in
they're like-
Staten Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get out in the sun.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, guys. Got a favorite TV show from this past summer? Leave it in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in to Geeks Represent. If you enjoyed this discussion, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts can be found. If you want to add to this discussion, visit geeksrepresent.com. There you can find our social media links.